once the it's being live streamed. Perfect. You'll just make sure it's healthy, the live stream, Jeanette, and we'll be fine.
Her. Okay.
Hello, YouTube, Hollywood Fringe. Um, I think I'm gonna let some people in. They can already see us. This
Oh,
is
I just muted myself. I was like, let's do it.
That's okay. I thought you muted yourself because you're like, I'm gonna let Roddy just exist, and I was like, don't. People should not let Roddy exist. It's too much.
No,
It's too much responsibility.
it's too much. We don't want that.
Yeah, yeah.
Prize
Hello,
and
everyone.
which we're going to get into today. And all that good stuff that is just helpful on the admin side. Again, all of
Gonna
this will
Oh
be
no.
recorded and uploaded to YouTube.
mute. Brilliant. No worries. Um, Welcome everyone. We're gonna start. I mean, thanks for coming in. We're gonna start at like 7:05, and then I'm gonna get into it. We're already live streaming to YouTube, which is great. So this will exist there if you have to head out. Also, little heads up, I imagine that will probably be an hour 20 minutes, when all is said and done, kind of doing overviews. And we'll get into questions, but also questions can happen honestly wherever. I'm happy to do that. We'll bounce around. But yeah, for those of us just joining in the Zoom room, feel free to type in the chat. Let me know where you're coming from, what show you're bringing in. I'm currently like behind the curtain stuff, going through all the shows and trying to see what everyone's bringing, checking accessibility tabs, themes, content like that. So more or less, it's probably likely that I've seen the name of your show. Which is exciting to see that there's a lot of really fun stuff coming. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, we're gonna start about 7:05. As people keep trickling in, I'm just gonna check some of my little cheat sheet notes, my paperwork. But let me see. Yeah, this is great. For those that are able to and feel comfortable enough, thank you for turning on your cameras. It's super helpful, so I don't feel like I'm in a void. It's definitely giving lockdown vibes, which is fun. But yeah, I don't know. Oof, there's stuff in the chat. Cute. Another fun thing about being a part of Fringe, when everyone's creating their projects, I've Angela seen the Lincoln debate pop up on my Instagram now, so it's working. The Instagram, it's going to people who are in the Fringe sphere. But that's exciting. Yeah, right? Also, little fun little tidbit. Um, in this little graphic, Matt and Angelique, who are dressed up in like the Victorian era looking style, they did a Fringe show about the events of the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. So I was like, I think Lincoln's in the zeitgeist right now. I think he's stuff is happening. Let me see. Let me prepare because we're gonna be sharing my Zoom screen for a lot of this to show you the app. So let me just make sure, or the website rather. Let me make sure I'm all good here. Ba-ba. Brilliant. Let me admit some people in. That's all working. And then perfect. Jeanette, well, first off, welcome everyone. This is web sessions number one. We're gonna cover a bunch of fun little things, but I am Roddy. I'm the programs director here at the festival. We are live streaming right now to YouTube, and Jeanette, our operations and marketing manager, is helping us facilitate this little event, which is super helpful because it's a lot of stuff to juggle at once. But yeah, a couple of like front of house things that I wanted to chat about. Um, First and foremost, land acknowledgement. So the Hollywood Fringe acknowledges that we are on the unceded lands of the Gabrielino, Tongva, and Chumash peoples. Our statement serves as a practice as we commit to furthering our connections to indigenous communities of the past, present, and emerging. Um, for those of us in the Zoom room, you can fully use the chat function. For those of us on YouTube Live, There's also a chat function there. Jeanette is keeping an eye on that tab as well. So if you have any conversations there or here, type them out. It's also pretty casual. So if you want to unmute yourself, if you have a question in the moment, I'm happy to address that too. But today, for the most part, in our web sessions number 1, we're going to be talking about the resources available to us as participants, which there is a lot. So I'm happy to like talk it through, navigate, and kind of specifically talk about what's important at this point in the process, in the beginning of March. And then we're gonna get into the fringe like producer administrative side, which means like when you're creating a profile, when you're registering, how you navigate what that registration process looks like. And then we're going to dive into the project page kind of as the end thing, which is something that is always able to be edited with like some caveats that I'll get into. But yeah, this is exciting. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me on what is a Tuesday. Okay, let's start sharing. I'm gonna grab my Safari tab. Gonna screen share. Safari. Brilliant. So, in a like it might be a little immersive, might be a little more like interactive. So if you want to give me a thumbs up that you can see my screen, that would be helpful. Brilliant, brilliant. I will also accept pensive nods because I can see all your wonderful faces. But brilliant. This is the landing page when you go to hollywoodfringe.org. At least it is right now. Most of you have seen this at a glance. You'll notice that the first thing here is how to find shows, because when we shift over to our May and June time, we really want to get audiences to know how to navigate this and how to find your shows. Before I get into discussing the shows, I'm going to discuss the resources available to you. You'll see in our website facelift, we have Artist News, Artist Hub, and My Shows. We're going to start, I guess we're going to start from the left and go to the right with Artist News. Clicking that link takes you to a blog post. This is stuff that tends to be year specific. And if anything is year permanent or just ingrained in the festival, it'll be in the Artist Hub. But basically, we have a lot of like, oh, heads up, this opportunity has become available, or we've uploaded like marketing tips. This will get regular uploads. I would say pretty regular, like monthly, if not bi-monthly, based on things that we're seeing that fringers really want to know about, or things that they need to know about in that moment. You'll also be getting emails from us as you've registered your project. We then have your email. Jeanette and myself, we include helpful links. Sometimes it links to these kinds of articles. And then, of course, you can see articles in the past that we've done, varying from like, these are the award winners and nominees, or here are some shows we want to shout out. For example, celebrating Black creators in Juneteenth. That's always something we want to do. It kind of lives in this blog post. So it kind of doubles both as an audience and a artist resource. And then during May and June, it kind of switches over to just purely audience. But that's the artist news tab. We're going to jump into the artist hub. This, especially for returning fringers, if you're watching this recording or you're here with us now, has probably had the biggest facelift from last year. Many of us will know that there was a participant packet, which was like I want to say like an 80-page PDF. It was quite dense. And what we've done is we've digitized it and broken it up. All of that lives in the Artist Hub. You'll see that there are other things here. Information for venues about Hollywood Fringe. If you want to know, we're celebrating our 16th year anniversary this year. Kind of tells us a little bit of what the org does, but also how it operates. And then we have a couple other tabs for prospective partners, sponsors, and then general FAQs for audiences, which may be helpful in May and June when like they'll get those questions. But also as a part of the Hollywood Fringe community, Jeanette and I are very familiar with responding to a lot of patrons. And so those are also helpful links for us when they're like, they email support at hollywoodfringe.org, and we're helping them along the way as well. So that's also for us. But the most important thing to talk about right now is the Artist Hub. And I'm going to click into that. And you'll see the first section breaks down to Hollywood Fringe and accessibility. We are working on always expanding our accessibility and consulting, accessibility and inclusion consultants, which is really exciting and something we're growing this year. But also you'll hear about, what the flag definitions are, which we'll kind of talk about today, what it means to be accessible here at Fringe for your audience, as well as we had the accessibility workshop this weekend, and all the slides are located here as well. Also, I'll shout out the Hollywood Fringe Access Advisory Board is comprised of previous fringers, current fringers, um, people who really understand the spirit of the festival, but also how it works. And you'll see them around a lot. They're super helpful. They always want to give back to the community, and they do so sometimes through this way by being Access Advisory Board members. Like if we have a program that we want to launch, we will go to them for advice or further context because sometimes you get lost as an administrator and don't think about all these things. Where we're going to spend most of our time right now, though, is welcome to Fringe and the getting started phases. So phase 1 and phase 2. I'm going to just click into our Fringe Code of Conduct because as some of you might be doing solo shows, some of you may be doing ensemble, and then everything in between. We implore that you go through this document. You don't have to print it out, but talking through this document with your production team on the first day of rehearsal will be super helpful. Basically, as you register your project, you are agreeing to our code of conduct, which is obviously expounded upon here, but basically, boils down to don't be a jerk, and be aware of how you behave in both digital spaces like this and in-person spaces, say like office hours that happen or will be happening every Wednesday at a bar in Hollywood, or at our opening and closing night parties, which will be also happening in Hollywood, to be announced on those locations as we sign contracts. But things like that. At the end of the day, you as the primary producer are responsible for your team. So it's just something to keep in mind. Then, new this year are the 2026 AI guidelines. The festival's uncurated and there's so much that can be done here at the festival. This is more so a guideline and a statement about how we as staff are committing to defining AI and how we're not using it, basically, but we're not necessarily imposing our artists because I mean, when in all honesty, we don't have the staff capacity to monitor something like that. We do implore that you work with designers and like real people because that's always amazing. But I just wanted to highlight it because it is one of the new things, and it's please read through it. We really asked a lot of our access committee who had a very big experience with AI in different fields. So they helped us a lot with these amazing resources. Okay, gonna open this up so I can see these things. But yeah, helpful resource as well. Scheduling an artist one-on-one. I had a couple of those today. You can book these sessions. They're 30-minute sessions where we can talk about anything you really want to talk about at the Fringe process, or advice or best practices. I just ask that if you sign up for one, please come. I mean, there's always a lot of work to do, but I love talking to people and especially about their projects. And every once in a while, someone doesn't come and I send them an email being like, everything okay? And it's fine. Okay. The getting started. This is what we're really diving into today with this web sessions. Where your brain's going to be at is the artist roadmap expands upon this. It's more of a like cuter and more digestible graphic than a full website. But we're really looking at Welcome to Fringe and getting started. So right now, we're about to talk about registration. We are about to talk about venues. If you are still looking for your venue, which is totally fine, actually, that's a good point in the process to be at. You're shopping around. This tab, upcoming venue tours and open houses, will be super helpful for you to, go visit some in person. A lot of the venues can be reached out individually to schedule one-on-one tours. Of course, if there's like well, not every venue actually can do that. So some can, some can't. Always check this out. Yes. Oh, the last thing I'll highlight in phase 2 and in the artist hub for right now is the budgeting for Fringe. I think the three things that everyone's kind of doing in the process right now is securing a venue and registering, and also trying to see what their budget is looking like. I think this is really the process to be doing that. right here, when it says you can view sample budgets here, I pulled about like 10 solo, 10 ensemble, and about 5 musicals from last year's. So yes, there is a little bit of inflation adjustment, but this gives you a truer sense of the numbers here. Oh, while I'm here, I will also touch base on the registration fees and types. So there's a $425 registration fee for paid, ticketed, and or multi-performance shows. So essentially, if you are planning on selling tickets, including pay what you can, you will be going and registering under this category. Then there's the $225 level, which is for shows that are either free, meaning you're not accepting money, and you also will not be receiving a check at the end of your festival experience, because the show's free, or for one-time performances. Yes, you can absolutely do a one-time performance at the festival. The average, again, with last year's numbers, is about 5 performances during the festival. If you're wanting to get a full festival experience, including say like industry and press, and that's important to you, I would caution against just performing once because it makes scheduling really hard. But it is fully an option available to you. Okay, I think that's all I'm really going to talk about the Artist Hub for now. But you'll see here that like there is so much. Whether it talks about how to use music licensing, equitable casting, or networking or ticketing, like all of that will live here. But for our intents and purposes, phase 2 is really where we're living for today. The other resource I'm going to shout out is the hollywoodfringe.org/annual report, which is super helpful for producers. We used to create this, or this was originally intended, to my knowledge, to go out to our local city council, our local community, to kind of show our impact, and how amazing and like important Hollywood Fringe is. And what we started to see is producers were looking at these stats that were quite similar and super helpful to them. And one of the pages I'll highlight here is like this, this says how many performances we had, overall tickets sold. Last year, the average ticket cost for one ticket was 1032. But the displayed ticket price was 1469. So about $15 was the average ticket price displayed, and then about $10 is what was actually paid for. This is what happens when you think about discount codes, you're sharing comp tickets. As we did an audience survey at the end of the festival, or well, compiled it all at the end of the festival, we were collecting the whole time. We asked our audiences, like, what do you typically spend at a show of a similar quality that you saw in a non-fringe time? And they said that they would pay a little bit higher prices. So we're encouraging that, well, if they say they're going to pay more, let's all collectively move it up a little bit. So we're saying that like a solo show could maybe live around the displaying of 15 to 18 dollar ticket price, and then your ensembles can go from anywhere like 15 to 25, depending on it, because producing is just also more expensive. Keeping in mind that that will probably be the highest ticket price, your general, and then knowing that there you'll be discounting things, you'll be sending codes to communities, but that will then bring up the average, assumedly, is the hope. It's kind of a thing that we are encouraging and testing out, but this is all from last year's stats. And then one other document or page that was important this year that was talked about at the marketing and ticketing town hall, or no, sorry, the budgeting town hall, is the sell-through rate. Now, we break down what sell-through rate really means, but essentially it's like how many tickets on average per performance were sold. And so what we saw here is last year, about 59% was the average sell-through rate of performances at Hollywood Fringe 2025. And when we broke that down to, this this whole thing, it meant that 35 seats was the average number of tickets sold per performance. And again, we have to take that into consideration on like some theaters have 30 seats, some have 50, some have 100, or well, 99. That number of the average number of seats tends to live about the 50, 60 mark, as a lot of the theaters on average will pull about 60 seats. As some are like way more intimate and some are much larger. That's where that number lives. to give you some frame of reference. What I tell to artists is that they're kind of tapping into three communities when they're here producing at the Fringe Festival. The first one is your own personal community. And you're telling your friends, your family, those that you know in Los Angeles or Hollywood, and then you're reaching into the fringe community, and that divides into two. One is your fellow artists, your fellow creators, who are very eager to see your work, and presumably as a part of your festival experience. When I did it in 2023, I wanted to see as much as I could, and I was doing comp swaps as well, picking specific dates and things like that. And then the other part of the community is, now that the Fringe Festival isn't going on for, well, this will be the 16th year anniversary. Is an audience of people that have like kind of gotten used to how to navigate the site, how to find their shows, and they're really receptive to, say, poster design, or they're really receptive to how your page looks and what the project page long text has inside of it, which I will get to in this presentation. I will talk about that pretty soon. Sorry, there's a lot of sites, so thank you for bearing with me. But we're going to leave the annual report, and we're going to go to the hollywoodfringe.org/events. This tells you all of the events that are happening, whether it be educational or marketing or celebratory, honestly, here at the festival, I believe. Yeah, great. So you'll see that, like, our web sessions are right here listed. All of our town halls, workshops, and web sessions do get posted after the fact. I mean, they're live streamed and then they get uploaded after the fact. We then turn them into podcasts, accessible to be listened to wherever podcasts are streamed, which is super cool and part of Jeanette's job, which is awesome because I don't know how to do that. And then we go into office hours. And I think right before Lois and Ellen left to talk with the Australia Fringes, they booked them all. So now you know where they're happening, which is super cool. Also, if they have discounts at their locations. And then, of course, new this year, we have some bar-centered locations. So it's the Plumber Park meetup that we just had about maybe 3 weeks ago, which was super fun. And then we're going to be doing Walk the Hollywood Reservoir, I believe. Let me look at my calendar. I believe that's this weekend. Yeah. And so if you're signed up or registered, like, you can click this hyperlink here. Once you register, I can communicate with all of you if you're like, where do I need to go? Where do I meet up? So no worries there. But yeah, super fun programs that are also not just during Wednesday nights, because I understand that if you work Wednesday nights, it's harder to make them. But yes, that's this tab. I will then also jump to the market. So that's Hollywood Fringe / there's no page here because there we go. Oh, right. We're reworking our merch. That's happening literally right now. We're talking with our designers, so that's why there's nothing there. It's like, where's all our merch? Anyway, what you need to be looking at is ads and buttons for promo and promotion. As a primary producer, you will be given a button when they become available. As I just said, we're currently designing the buttons. We make them every single year. But as a primary producer, you do get one. It allows you specific discounts. It gets associated with your digital account. And then there are some like in hotspots that get announced a little bit later where discounts are available to you. You can also just buy them as keepsakes. I think that they're super cute, and I think that I've seen a lot of shows buy them and give them to their cast. They're adorable. I think I have, yeah, I don't know if you can see this. I have the first year I did the festival in 2023. That was this one. Oh, that doesn't even show up. Anyway, I like them. I think they're cute. I'm gonna move on. The more important thing here as well, as it relates to advertising, are printed guide ads and then digital ad impressions. We can see here where, like, it's like join the Commissioners Club. That is a digital ad impression. We sell them by like the number of times they populate on the site. For example, this one right here, which is 9,000 ad impressions. It means it will appear 9,000 times when people come visit the site and users you know, um, are using the site. Something to note is when you want to use these. So right now, we're all on the site as primary producers, so we're seeing this. So you're right now mostly marketing to your fellow artists. Again, I think the statistic was like maybe it's like 7 times to see something to then act upon it. I think that that was done. Another research style format of that was done again, and it's like doubled, just because how much saturation there is in everything that's going on. But super helpful. When we go into May, that's when artists and audience members start to visit the site. That's when those ad impressions will also be seen by fellow audience members for the most part. And then in June, artists producing their shows are less so on the site unless it's for like, I need to use my will call list, and it's a lot of like audiences are on the site. It's just knowing when to use that. Also, the rate at which ad impressions go is different. Right now, we're only seeing artists, and there are a lot of you, but not as many as there would be like when it's full swing festival time. So maybe right now the 9,000 ad impressions may go for like 2 weeks long until you want to refill them or decide what your next plan of action is. But say when we're in the thick of May and June, 9,000 ad impressions could go by super fast because there's so many people on the site. Um, I'll then also talk about because the when you're purchasing a ad impression, it kind of gives you a how-to to formatting, but because it's a website, it's a little bit more forgiving on formatting. What isn't as forgiving is print media. So when you purchase an ad, it tells you all the specs, and there's also a new link to go to when you want to know the specifics. I will also mention, because I'm about to leave this page, the prices right now that you're seeing are all non-discounted prices. Once you've registered your project, all of these get discounted automatically, and the website knows when you have it registered. Because I think this for sure goes down, because I haven't seen this 35 in a while, but I have an admin account. I'm using a non-admin one right now, so that's why I'm seeing this differently. Um, so just keep that in mind. If you're going to buy ads, do so after you've registered, because it will be cheaper. And there's no reason why you don't want a discount. Okay. I'm going to go to now hollywoodfringe.org/ads. This is important to know if you are interested in buying a print ad. The deadline to buy and upload a print ad is April 20th. You may have heard before that the deadline to register for the festival is April 15th. The reason why it's April 15th is to ensure you're in the printed guide, which is a free inclusion. It's not an image, but it's a blurb. And I'll explain what that is and how you do that when we start building our project. But if you're buying a print guide ad, this gives you all the dimensions for every single type of ad. Lois and I believe our what's their official title? I mean, well, Chris, the guide, I'll say curator, or the one who creates the guide for us and helps with formatting, will be in contact with you as you're uploading your media. So it's not like a one and done. It's kind of we want to make sure that the ad that you want and the formatting that you want gets uploaded properly. Oh, and then you'll get proofs before to double check all that good stuff. But this lives at hollywoodfringe.org/ads. Yes. Okay. I think that is all of the important info on the site, like quick links, things to know about. I'm now going to jump to the user profile. So I'm currently not logged in. I'm going to be logging in, right? I'm using a non-fringe admin password and account. That way you're gonna see what it looks like exactly as you would see it. When you want to register your show, because you may be in talks with a venue, um, again, the deadline to register and book a venue is April 15th. Those two things can happen in either order. And in fact, a lot of artists go and book a venue first that is in the fringe zone and then register. And I think it makes a lot of sense because sometimes the venue is the larger of the costs, the larger of the payments. To know if if this is the right time for you, if it's financially viable. But as long as both those get done before April 15th, you're all good. So let's look into home shows. What am I looking at? Oh no, it's over here. I'm remembering how we reformatted this. Okay, so you'll see here at the bottom, there's my profile, this account button, log out, which, will log me out. There's a shopping cart, and then there's an insight messaging system. We're going to talk about the insight messaging system a little bit later when it becomes a little bit more relevant. But over here, I'm going to click on my account, and then to upload a profile, you will just click picture, upload whatever you'd like, and it'll then upload. If you have multiple photos, you'll see a little star icon on some of them. Clicking the star icon will make that the main image. In preparation of this web sessions, I was looking at last year's, and Lois was mentioning how previous year participants and producers will sometimes be like, oh, I remember that performance with that one amazing performer, and I can't remember their name. Sometimes they'll go in because the website lives forever and your project pages live forever. So people can thereafter, look them up and see who was in it. And sometimes they do casting that way, or they just find their future collaborators that way. Which I think is cool. And again, you can then add all of these things that you'd like. But now we're going to talk about these kind of bars. My projects is what we're really going to explore. Advertisements, when you purchase an ad, that's where you go back to edit it, to check on it. My buttons, we just talked about festival buttons. They become way more of a factor later in the festival because later in the festival, meaning like May, because we'll definitely have physical versions of them. But you'll already have digitals before that. There's a my favorites section where you can just start favoriting shows that you want to go see and have interest in. Your purchase history, to purchase history. Your schedule, you can add certain events to Hollywood Fringe to make sure you don't miss anything. I'm actually going to click into that so you can see what it looks like. So right now, any event that Hollywood Fringe is facilitating is in blue. We forgot to add web sessions, but we'll do that later on the back end. But these are the big events. This is where my favorites will also populate, and your own shows. When you've, arranged it with your venue to, what dates are they're going to be, your venue will then input them in the Fringe site. They'll give you a venue deal through the Fringe website, and then it'll appear here. I will also talk about that more momentarily because that's a big part of your project. Okay. Settlements, this will become really important at the end of your festival experience when you, one, have wrapped up your show, closing night has passed, and you'll get an email from all of us being like, hey, let's get you your check. Let's make sure you get all your proceeds to your show. Here's a couple of survey questions. Please reconfirm this address where we're sending this check. And then for future reference, you can check back to settlements as well. And then notifications. Log out, logs you out. Those are the super helpful parts. Okay, I'm going to click my project. Okay, so because this is my non-admin account, you can see that I have some shows here. The first one is the show I did in 2023, which was super fun. And I think about it a lot because it was great. The second one is a test show. It is not the test show we're going to use right this second. This one will talk about how you relate to your venue. What I'm going to do is we're going to go through the process of just creating a project right now. So basically, you're going to click Add a New Project. The way to get to this specific landing page is also, I have it here. It's hollywoodfringe.org/add_project. That's will also take you here. It'll actually specifically take you here. So we're going to walk through it and kind of discuss most of this, because I get a lot of questions about this when you're all emailing me, so it's better to talk about it now. So test show 1.0. It's just the title for the show. Choose a category. This can be edited after. We had all of these categories last year, and we kind of saw a better division, and like it was easier for people to self-identify themselves in these categories. At the end of the day, there are things that your show will be more than one of. It just becomes what you want to choose. I think commonly, like, we'll have shows that are like, I'm a solo show, but I'm also a solo musical. And I'm like, well, I think you might want to prefer to be in the musical category than in the solo show category. Or they're like, I'm a solo clown show. And I'm like, well, no, they go into the clown, the where is it? There's comedic, clown and alternative comedy. I'm seeing there's something in the chat. There are not subcategories. There are so sorry, the question was, is there a subcategory option once you select? Not with the main one. That becomes the big umbrella ones, and it is important for the community awards. That's how it's all compiled. There are tags that help refine the search. So, and we'll talk about tags in a second too. That previous fringers have created. I think some that come to mind, they'll label like as absurd theater, or they'll break it down even more. But for audiences, this is how they mainly use the categories, and this is how the awards. Oh my God, you've all been talking in this chat. I'm so sorry. Oh, but Jeanette's also been killing it. Okay, well let's see. It's
Keep
all
going,
great.
Roddy.
Okay.
It's all great, Roddy. You go. You go.
So for the sake of this project, I'm gonna say it's clown alternative comedy. We have a thriving clown community, and I am not a clown performer, but I think I'm a clown in my day-to-day. I'm gonna call it my Cool Cats Company. Um, this is not an official thing. Like, you don't need a proper LLC to register a company. Honestly, it's just a thing for future thought. Like, oh, back when I was starting my theatrical journey in 2019, I was creating a lot of work. I eventually was like, I should just put this all under one umbrella, make it its own Instagram account because I wanted to keep it separate from my personal. And so I did. It is not called Cool Cats Company. That is a cool title I should have thought of later, but it's something else. Um, uh, and you can edit this later. Some people also just put their names. If they're not thinking of like, I don't want to, like, this is my one-off show. I don't really want to have a company title name or anything, and I want to redirect people to my personal Instagram. I think that is a choice to be made as well, just sidestepping, but talking about some advice on the marketing angle. If you're a theater creator that wants to continue creating work and you do it under an umbrella of stuff, great. But if your main purpose of Fringe is like, I want to show people the stuff I do, whether that's producing work, written work, or my acting work, then I'm going to redirect them instead, not to a new Instagram, but my personal Instagram. I see a lot of clowns doing this too, because it's like, yeah, I'm doing this one clown show, but I've done a ton of stuff. So it's just things that you want to think about. Short description as I move forward. Actually, I'm going to name it Cool Cats and Co. because we're all cool cats, and now we all have a company, and I have forced you all to be a part of it, which is very cute for me. Okay, short description. This is the short. I can just copy and paste. I don't know why I'm trying to force myself to spell description. This is the short description. Nope. You're seeing me struggle to type in real time. I love that for me. Okay. This in the get that. So the short description is about 300 characters max, and this is what does go to print. So definitely check your typos, but also you can come back later and check if the intention of your show has changed. I think we see a lot of new works coming to the festival, and sometimes the show that they're incubating and thinking and dwelling on does change after the fact, and they do go ahead and change this. You can't change this after April 15th. Please keep that in mind. But yes, and then let me just so yep, this goes to print. The long description though lives on the website. This lives on the website. We will get a project page generated after we input all of this. One of the things I ask, and fully editable throughout the course of the festival, because it's a digital footprint. What I see a lot of people doing is while they're getting reviews, whether from their fellow artists or from members of press, they will take snippets and italicize them and put it up on their project page. Super cool way of updating it. Also a great way of telling the bio. Another thing is if you joined us for the accessibility panel, I am jumping ahead a little bit, and you should also put content warnings at the top here. Either bold or italicized, different from the rest. So I'm just going to say, I would say something like content warnings. Um, and an example of a content warning is depiction or use of a firearm. And then I would go ahead and italicize that. And then I would put the rest of my bio and what the show's about. This is super important for your audiences. This is like the secondary thing you need to do. There's a primary thing about content warnings that we're actually about to hit right at the bottom here. But it's just helpful for your audiences when they're navigating the site and when they're deciding to do it, whether they know you or they don't, to know what to expect from the show. We you never want your audience. I mean, we've talked about this. Jeanette was with me on the weekend. We're speaking to our artists, but like you don't want to scare or surprise your audience in an unintended way where they disconnect from your art. That's not the goal. Moving forward, the external website. If you have a company and yet that company has a website, you can drop that here. If you have an Instagram and you are wanting to send people there, put that in. If there is something else, like a YouTube link of work that you've done, I the general rule on applying to things and to fringe is more is more. It really is. Our fringers, the members of the community who have been seeing things for a lot, they go through this, and I mean, I'm also one of those people that I have a blast doing this when I have the capacity. But like, if I'm making my decision on what show to see, I look through all of the media and all of the content because that is something that someone has poured so much time and effort into that I'm like, I will absorb this. I want to see what they're all about. I want to see past work. Um, and I think that we see a lot of artists that are like, yeah, but this is a new project. Like this isn't about previous work. And it's like, no, that's still helpful. Like get people in your audience. People get those fans. Um, I won't put anything for the external website right now, but I recommend it. Minimum age. I did have a conversation about this today with another fringer via the one-on-one sessions, and it is about like best practices, things to be aware of. It is unlikely that your show minimum age is 0. Some people uh, are unsure of how to categorize it, and slightly below, there's a whole family-friendly toggle. Family friendly really has to mean family friendly. It's also not something we can really check on, but it is something that then gets back to us if an audience member has an experience and they're like, I don't think this was really family friendly. We're like, well, you know, we'll help you, we'll handle it, we'll facilitate it. But just getting ahead of that curveball. I think I've seen shows do like, oh, it's 14 plus. I'm playing with certain themes that I think are suitable for 14 or 16. Um, it's very much based on whatever you think about your work and the level of intensity that work may contain. But also like if it's for 5-year-olds, then know that like 5-year-olds get restless. They need to get up from their seats sometimes during a performance. There are some shows that we've had at Fringe that were for those audiences, and because they kept that in mind the entire time, they're like, we're adjusting the lights to be on all the time. Like we're not putting them all in darkness, and we're not overselling the house if kids need to move around. It's just things like that to keep in mind. But yes, minimum age is super important. Performance duration. This is, you're allowed to put in any number right now. If you want to edit this after the fact, it won't be up to you then. I mean, it will be, but you have to go an extra step actually. Right now, the average performance, oh, right, minimum age, I'm just going to say 14. Uh, Performance duration, the average performance at Fringe is about an hour or 60 minutes. Let's say you realize that your show is actually 75 minutes. You need to talk to your venue, presumably that you'd have booked already, as soon as possible to make sure that they're able to accomplish that. And 2, they will then need to input and change that. For example, take an actors company or a Broadwater venue that hold I think in both spaces there's maybe 3 or 4 theaters. If all of the and hundreds of artists, performing in there, we can't give over that access to all the artists. It's just too chaotic. So we give it to the venue managers and it takes time. And also it's their scheduling. They block in all of the performances. I mean, communicating with you. Um, so the initial duration, you input, and then if you need to change it, definitely talk to your venue for sure. I would also say talk to your venue if you are like, I said I booked a 60-minute piece. Now my piece is actually 45 minutes. I realized that I trimmed it or I cut some things or just whatever had to happen. I can't speak to how the deals work financially, but I do know that when they change it, it'll be reflected as a 45-minute show, and your audience knows, like, those audience members that are booking and seeing shows back to back to back, that will help them as well. Sometimes it's tricky for like a 75-minute show and then running to another theater, just things to think about. Phone number. We collect this. I'm just putting in numbers here. We collect this. Honestly, in case staff needs to reach you, in case of an emergency or things happening, or sometimes I was talking to Lois about it or watching Lois discuss it, and she was like, sometimes if a artist has purchased a guide ad proof or purchase a guide ad needs a proof, Lois can leave a voicemail and help you because there's so much that happens during the festival. And it's totally fine if things get dropped. We all want to help. But that is not shared. That is not public information. That is a staff internal thing. And honestly, I don't think I will be making phone calls to anyone. I'm going to leave that as an executive function of our co-executive directors. Okay, country of origin. United States. State of origin, California. Right. There's so many things with each of these things. Okay, country of origin. We do have international artists who come to the festival. That's why that country of origin exists. We also have stateside artists who are currently residing in the US, and so they should also select US. This is really helpful for us to track our international artists. So I would just say be aware of that. Price of tickets. What I'm talking about. You can write whatever price you want. This can also be edited after the fact. In fact, let's say you're performing 5 times. You can edit this per individual performances. Same thing on the discount codes, same thing on the pay what you can, same thing if one day is a free show day, like all of that. This is your overview. When you edit it, you can edit it on a performance by performance basis, whereas right now we're kind of doing a show by show or production by production basis. Anyway, I'm writing 18 there. I'm not going to toggle family friendly. I'm in my imaginary world. This is a ensemble production, and I'm going to say it's a world premiere, and I'm going to say it's a multilingual performance. Multilingual and performance in Spanish are toggles that we can use for accessibility and also for marketing purposes. That's why they're here. I will say that there's a content warning in this imaginary scenario. In this imaginary scenario, it does not include nudity. A lot of the content warnings can be identified and searchable. Includes nudity is not a searchable function on the site. It doesn't need to be, and it's always been like that. So just a heads up, nobody can search that up, which makes a lot of sense. Okay, finally, I'm going to say I'm not a robot. Oh, there's no CAPTCHA. Perfect. Now I'm going to add a project. Okay, what I just filled out with all of you is the basics, which is great. Now we're going into the details. Going to be a little bit more faster on the draw here. So what is your cast size? I'm going to assume my cast size as an ensemble show, 7 people. What is the best estimate of your creative team? Right. All of these details, when you apply to a venue, your venue will see this. This gives you an idea. This gives your venue a good idea of what kind of performance you're trying to accomplish, the technical needs, all the stuff that they'll need will be super helpful. You may apply to a venue that can't meet your needs that you're filling out here. That's totally fine. Our venues are so connected and so like they're all separate businesses, but they're very nice to each other. They may recommend you somewhere else. They're like, oh, my space might not be too small, but if you're interested in, a bigger house or bigger space or whatever, go check these people out. That's what this is all about right now. Okay, what's the best estimate of your creative team? Well, in my test show 1.0, I'm not an actor, so I'm gonna hire. Oh wait, sorry, this isn't cast size. This is creative team, a stage manager, I'm gonna say I want a props person. I'm gonna say I want a marketing person. I'm gonna say I want um a scenic designer. So I'm gonna say four. How much are you charging for your tickets? Again, there's a little blurb that's super helpful here. But I've said 18, so I'm gonna write that there. How many preview performances do you need? Preview performances are the first week of the festival. Um, Fringe moves so fast that yes, it is called previews. It's kind of a tradition when possible that every show performs at least once. That's what makes opening night party such a celebration because everyone's performed at least once. Um, it's a little bit different for our international artists that can't always be here all the time or people who have different schedulings. Um, Treat your preview performance as your first performance. Um, yeah, that is the advice I will say there. But anyway, I only want one for my preview. How many festival performances do you need? I'm thinking that I'm gonna want five in total, so I'm gonna say four. The reason why five is like the average, from what we've seen, is that every show performs at least once a week, and then leading up to the third or the fourth festival week, we'll see that they'll add like, okay, I'm going to perform a Tuesday and a Saturday, or I'm going to do a Thursday and a Sunday. They try to squeeze in that because ideally your marketing efforts have paid off enough where that word of mouth has built up and you can really end on a high note kind of thing. What are your conflicts in June of 2026? This is also super helpful to your venue managers, especially on how they arrange it, because they will come to you with an offer of bookings based on all this. At least some of them work that way. I know for me personally, I think I'm gonna be say will, or you don't really have to explain. You can just say like unavail from not in town. That is easier to spell. Not in town, June 12th to the 15th, something like that. I am going to my sister's graduation. What's your desired schedule? Yeah, there's not really any prime times here at the festival. It's just shows start at different points of the day. For example, on your Mondays and Tuesdays, shows may start at like 6 or 7 and go until 11. Whereas your Saturday, Sundays, shows may start, I've seen shows start at 10 in the morning, and then, back to back to back to back bookings. I've seen shows at midnight and they'll finish at 1 in the morning. Um, I will say don't discount your like Monday nights, your Tuesday nights. Your venues also, some of them try to curate packages where you have an array. I've seen a lot of artists who are like, I have my Saturday night and I'm super excited. And then they start freaking out where I'm like, oh, my Tuesday night is super sold out with fellow artists who were able to make it. But my Saturday night is like a little bit harder to fill out because everyone else is doing their stuff. So I just say there's really no bad um time slot. There's just different ways of marketing them. Your desired schedule, happy with a little bit of everything. I mean, the more detail you give the venues, the better. Um, what are the tech requirements of your show? So whether or not we have people coming to Fringe like developing new work, so it's still in incubation, or it's like, no, I've already done this work. I know what I want. I know what I envision. Or if you're a technical theater artist in your practice and you have tech elements that you want to bring, I know for my work, let's see. I know for my work, I'm always gonna want like projection use. I sometimes do captioning on projects. So projection use, tech requirements, lighting, LED color changes. Again, it can be as descriptive or as nondescript as possible. I mean, at a certain point, you just don't know what you don't know. That's what you have those conversations with venues about. Um, um, what else is super helpful to know? I mean, if it's a live music, um, need, I don't know, let's say 6 channels. If you're all hooking it up to a system, again, these are just things you can think about if you have them, if you know at the top. And if you don't know, that's fine. You can have like our venue managers when you're visiting their spaces and you're talking with them, more than happy to kind of discuss this and kind of get an idea of it because uh Fringe is all about building relationships and it's like, yeah, if you have a great time at a venue and you want to go back post Fringe, during Fringe, future Fringes, just out in LA, super great. Um Fringe moves fast. Do you have any elements in your show that may require a plan with your venue? This is perfect for blood effects, glitter, confetti, large set items. I know a lot of our venues are divided upon this. Some of them are like, if you have glitter, I'm sorry, but you can't come into our space. It is just rightfully so. It's just very messy. But then some people are like, okay, well, the blood effects we can do. Do you have a game plan? Is it gonna stain our floor? Like things you just need to talk about. Um, I will say that we are using confetti. And if we are using confetti, again, reminder, you have 15 minutes traditionally to load in and load out. So really have a plan on how you're going to clean all of that up while your audience is also exiting. Okay. Also, I love a large set. I'm including large set. But that is stuff that you need to know about. For example, if you do have a large set, a lot of our theaters don't have garage doors or really big doors to come in. So you'll have to make sure, how do I build my set and load it in a way that can probably fit through a traditional doorway and be done, with the time. What is the predicted runtime of your show? Again, I'm going to say about 60 minutes. What is your availability to talk or meet with a venue? Yeah, I mean, I'll just say like evenings, evenings, Sat, and Sunday. I mean, be as descriptive as you want. I'm just wanting to move past this one. Evening, Sat, and Sunday. Yeah, I'll just write that. This is helpful to us for general data collection about the festival. So, did you write your show? Oh, this is also super helpful because it puts you on our radar if you're doing a work that requires rights. At the end of the day, you are responsible as the prime producer for, if you're doing a show that is published, securing those rights. And so, it's like, no, but I have the rights. Great. And then we occasionally will check in and see how it's going. Or, no, but I'm in conversation with the rights holders to obtain the rights by my fringe run. Also something that we need to keep in mind. Just because we, at the end of the day, want to protect our artists as much as we can. And making sure that we are also doing the due diligence of making sure everyone is okay. Also, there are ways to search LA premiere and world premiere on the site. So that's also why that's super helpful. And then, oh, right. You say it's a world premiere. Then, have you produced at the Hollywood Fringe Festival before? Also super helpful for our breakdown and understanding the Fringe space. I'm going to say yes as another role that isn't listed. How do you identify? Again, this helps us understand Fringe in a larger context and the breakdowns and how we look at it compared to like LA County's demographic breakdowns. So I'll just fill this out real quick. Ba, 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 ba. There we go. My age, put that there. Are you currently enrolled in a college university? Nope. What is your individual income? Oh, we break that down here. Again, all of it is for a larger numbers game here at the festival to understand that. So next step, tags. This is kind of what we were talking about when we were like, oh, there's categories, and then tags also helps. I believe you can choose up to 5 tags, so definitely like make sure you know which ones are going to be more helpful for you. For example, sometimes um, it wouldn't make sense necessarily to write solo show if your category is solo show. But let's say you're doing a clown thing and elements are immersive, then you can add that tag, or it's absurdist themes, um, or you're discussing mental health, or it's very movement heavy. Like, what are the things that are going to be more? Oh, I like vaudeville. I'm adding that too. Okay, things that are most relevant to your show. These tags are also searchable when people are looking things up. Next step, venue. Okay, so when we get here, you can apply simply by clicking this, the apply button. All of the information that we've just been filling out, or the relevant information rather, I should say, gets sent to the venue. For example, like the phone number, that's not getting shared. But like knowing the details, your tech requirements, all of that jazz, that gets sent to the venues. Um, Simply applying does not lock you in. That just means that you've shown interest in the venue, and the venue knows that, and they will get back to you, and then you have more conversations. I don't think I shared the hollywoodfringe.org/venues tab. And I'm sorry, but I'm gonna go back a second. I have to talk about this because it's important. But we have about, I think, 25, 28 venues registered this year. I know that there's maybe one or two still being added, but different circumstances with those. Anyway, but within this 25, 28, there's about 40 spaces. This is where you want to come to see exactly what you need. Let's say I want a 26 to 50 seat theater. I'm going to use these toggles. It is important to me that it is size inclusive seating. I do want a bar in the location to celebrate after the show. And I'm seeing, okay, cool. Activist Kitchen pops up. That's awesome. And I'm then taken by clicking their hyperlink to more details about them, the facility services, the accessibility, the box office services. This is a great way of getting to know what's in their space, even before you reach out. So also, you can see here that projects are being populated into their space as they're accepting contracts or making deals. Also, spaces. They have the main space. More details here. I will select a different venue as well to give you another idea. Oh, right. You can also email them directly, which is super helpful. Sometimes it's just good to give the venue managers, I mean, there's so much they're doing, but a little nudge here and then is okay. I'm going to click on Actors Company, a space that has multiple spaces, or yeah. And then you'll see here, they have the Lit Lev Theater, and all of this information is included. Then there's the other space, and then there's the Little Theater. So it's really helpful to shop around. I will also say most of these venues are year-round businesses. So if you ever are like, what are the venues in Hollywood, specifically within the fringe zone, in non-fringe times? All of these super easy to continue looking up and getting pictures and messaging them individually. Of course, during non-fringe time, I really do recommend reaching out to them individually. They all have their um, like, year-round business emails. Okay, going back. I am not going to confuse any of our venues by clicking apply, but literally clicking apply doesn't take you anywhere. It just sends that information over. As well as, clicking more info gives you some more information there. Clicking these hyperlinks takes us directly to like what the venues tab was before, which is awesome. And then next step. You can come back to all of these steps, by the way, after the fact. Okay, the participant agreement. This is within the participant agreement, states explicitly that you are adhering to the code of conduct. So that's one of the things. But yes, it's a lot of really great lawyer information, which I am not one. But like, basically detailing out your relationship to the festival, how it works, any liability disclaimers, more details about that. Please, by all means, read your contracts. I think it's super important, especially on insurance. As a producer, you need general liability insurance, whether that means that you are being added on to a venue rider, insurance rider, as a part of a package, or you are seeking that out individually. We need to know that you have insurance. It's super important. Yeah, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to accept my contract. That is not a financial investment. It is an acknowledgement of all of the above, because the last step is then choosing what type of show. I will say, if you are interested in so we know what a paid multi-performance show is. We know what a free show is. Workshop in class. Workshop in class, because there's some confusion sometimes, it doesn't mean that the show itself is an in-progress workshop. It means that you are offering a workshop, a learning teaching event, or a class kind of structure. I know there's some confusion there sometimes. I also will say, if you are already registered to the festival with a paid multi-performance show, you don't have to pay $50 for a workshop or class. You're able to just simply add that. And if that is something you're interested in with the people in this room or the people seeing it afterwards, feel free to email me at support@hollywoodfringe.org. I'm also not going to put in my credit card information, but know that that's a thing that you have to do to fill out the registration and pay for this. But I will actually stop screen sharing and go back and show you what it looks like when a venue offers you a deal. While I'm doing that, I'm going to talk a little less and be so happy to answer any questions while I stop screen sharing. But yeah, thank you for this. I'm just
Should we
gonna.
just unmute or should we use the
I
chat
think I
question?
think it's totally fine to unmute. I am. It's a casual kind of web sessions.
Okay, two, which I hope is also for if we do workshops or classes and they are paid, it's still not $50, right?
Correct. So if you have a show coming to the festival that has a paid registration, you can add a workshop/class without paying the $50 to register that, and that workshop and or class can be a ticketed event.
Great. And then the second thing is if your show is a pay what you can or like pay, like if it doesn't have a set price, it isn't, or like donation show, is that a free show because people could go for free, or is that still a paid show?
It is and very good question because we do get that quite a bit. It is still categorized as a paid show. Because even with the pay what you can, one, you do list a like there's like a recommended price kind of thing, but then it's also pay what you can. You can put in whatever number. But on the reason why it's done that way is because for the administrative side, for us, it's still treated the same way, and we still have to go through the similar admin overhead. I think that's one of the bigger reasons why. There's a couple smaller ones, but like that's when it's May and June and we're helping ticket buyers, it's a lot. So also you're able to put pay what you can on specific nights. So like not every performance has to be pay what you can. But yes, a truly free show means you're not accepting payment through the website. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to see over four. I don't have the capacity to see over 400 productions. So there's a level of honesty and and transparency happening. But like, if you accept donations at the end of your show, well, that's also it's different. It's not the cost of a ticket. You're like talking to your audience. You're running out of the street, running out of the theater and into the sidewalk to have that conversation with them. It's completely different. But know the expectations. Don't list that your show is free and then surprise your audience in that way. It's a bit of a careful phrasing. But yes, in order to pay what you can is a ticketed thing. Sorry, I
Okay.
think I'm over explaining, but
Yeah, no,
great question.
no, actually, it's very helpful to understand all of those nuances. I'm sorry, I have one more and I was late, so you might have already answered this.
That's
But
okay.
if we decide that we cannot do fringe, are we allowed refund?
Yeah. So refunds get harder after April 15th. Or there might be some other things there, but like the world is crazy. There's a lot of
Mhm.
reasons which things don't happen. And at the end of the day, like what, there's only like five of us working here and we're all thankfully all human. So we're able to like, help out. And I know that we have some shows that have deferred registration, and some that we've refunded. It's totally fine. We're all human. It just gets a little harder after April 15th, but I mean, I, you know, at a certain point, I also just give it to Ellen Lois to say as the executive directors, but it's not out of the normal to provide a refund for registration, which is also why we kind of recommend and kind of have it where you can book your venue or you can register, but one does not have to come before the other. They just have to both be done by April 15th. Yeah.
I have a follow-up question to the pay what you can. Do you have to decide ahead of time, or can you like if one night's not doing as well for ticket sales, you can decide later for that to be a pay what you can? How does that work?
Yes, you can totally after so all of those toggles are able to be edited after the fact too. And even well into your festival run, if you're like, oh, like you just said, I'm gonna change that into a pay what you can. I'm gonna launch a whole little marketing campaign so that I let my audience know. Totally possible. Um, Same thing for discount codes.
Okay, cool.
Discount codes can also be performance to performance based.
And I have another separate question. So if you're registering a full show with multiple performances, and okay, so there's a show that I did. I've never performed at Hollywood Fringe before. I'm doing a second solo show, but I've done my first one at Edinburgh, but I never performed it at Hollywood Fringe, and I thought I'd just maybe do one or two performances of that first show. Is there a discount if I'm doing multiple, if I'm producing multiple shows at Hollywood Fringe? Is there anything like that? Like that show's already like pretty polished, ready to go, and the other one's a new one. And
I gotcha. No, so unfortunately, currently there isn't that structure in place. And I think it's good to ask those questions because I know we had an artist last year that was like, "Oh, I'm having a 5 show run, and then I want to add a additional performance of a completely different show, and they wanted to do it all within the same project page." The site doesn't agree with that or work that way. So your patrons will get more confused, which is why it has to be separate project pages.
okay.
Um, so unfortunately, yeah, it is that they have to be separate registration costs.
Okay. And there's no option for discounts for that if I've already paid for a full one?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, just thought.
Yeah,
Ask.
totally fine. Totally fine. I am down to have more questions. I need to pull up the thing I said I was gonna pull up because I forgot. Oh, it's right here. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to share screen again, but instead of going into Safari, we're going into Google Chrome. Okay. So, da, 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 da. You will get an email in your inbox when a venue has proposed a deal. Doesn't mean you need to accept it, but you can review the deal and look at it. Right now you're seeing my personal inbox, which is why it looks so crazy with 8,832 emails. We don't got to worry about that. But we're gonna click here for the details of the deal. And let's hope I will fix this. I'm gonna stop sharing because I'm in my admin account, which means I should probably do it to what you'll be seeing on your end. So, I'm not a robot. Please remember me. Log in. Great. Screen share. That's the one. Okay. So from that email link, I wanted to look at the venue deal. I can see here that from this email, that's where I've been sent. If you, for whatever reason, lose that email, there's another way to access this page. In fact, I'm going to go back to my account. I'm going to go to My Projects. I'm going to click, it's Roddy's Test Show Fully Cooked, which is what Lois named it, which is very sweet. This is my profile page. We're going to see here that this is the long description. And here it says not registered because I haven't paid for the registration on this project, but it says a pending deal exists with the Hollywood Reservoir. The reason why it says Hollywood Reservoir is because it's part of our, we needed a location to help artists meet us at the reservoir. It's not actually a location this year at the festival, although that would be cool. But anyway, I click here to view the deal. This is what the deal that the venue manager has offered me. The venue manager is offering me, for the sake of this test, we put August because we didn't want to mess up any programming in case we forgot to delete this project. But you'll see the deal when it was created, the time that the venue accepted it, it is now waiting on you as the production or the primary producer to accept it. So I'm going to just click here, confirm deal and register. And then it's going to send me to, the payment for my show. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to comp my registration so that you can see what that looks like. So many little things. Log in. Really? Control panel. Paid multiple events. That is correct. Great. View site. Then to log out. Log in. There we go. Thanks for bearing with me. I now can show you what a registered project with an accepted venue deal looks like. And so now it says, registered for the Hollywood Fringe Festival 2026. You can see that these tags that I was populating right here for Absurdist, I mentioned world premiere. You can see here that it also gives that there's a content warning. I've labeled this show to be a free show. And again, it was world premiere. This is exactly where the content warning should go. This is always editable. And then you'll see here that Lois and we added a link. Of course, it just links to the festival, but it could link to anything of your personal stuff. Over here is where Over here is where you're gonna add like poster images. I would also say feel free to embrace if you don't have your poster image yet. Sometimes rehearsal video, rehearsal footage, all of that to get people excited, because knowing that while tickets will go on sale May 1st, other fellow artists will be visiting this. They'll be curious about it. And then also it's okay to have additional images. You can identify the poster image or your main image as the primary by clicking a star icon that will appear when there is more than one image and or video. If I want to modify tags, I click this modify tag icon at the bottom here. And what an audience member can see is they will be able to go through the details, location, tickets, reviews, and press. As the primary producer of my own project, I get the admin access. This goes for you as well. All of you as primary producers, you have this admin access. If you would like to give admin access to an additional collaborator, you're going to go here to your production team. This is where you can add your stage managers, if you have them, costume designers, if you have them, your cast of ensemble members that we may have. I am listed here because I've created this project. Lois helped me out in developing it, so we listed her here. But basically, you're going to go to edit if you want to add more people. And I'm just going to add, I'm going to add my dad. I'm going to add Will Villegas. And it's fine. Don't email him. But he's going to be a scenic designer. Why not? Brilliant. And I'm going to send an invite. And then an email will immediately be going to his email, which after this meeting, will tell him is fine. But also, you may see my dad around. He's a wonderful volunteer who helps us with all this fringe stuff. So say hi if you see him. Anyway, he's now received in his inbox a little notification saying, "Hey, you're a part of a fringe show. Upload your image. Upload a headshot." He doesn't have one, but a photo. And then you can click edit if you need to go back in. And you can, if I change his role to whatever, I can do that. I can also then set him to be the primary contact. As the primary myself, I can give away that access. Be aware, once you've given that access away, you've given that access away. It's going to be a second to get it back. You, as the primary producer, are the one that's really managing this, but also when it comes to sending emails about getting the check and all of that, that's the primary producer. You can, however, add as many admins as you want. Admins will give anyone here access to that admin tab that I'm about to explore. You'll see here that I already gave Lois admin access and how I'm listed here as the primary. So I'm actually not going to update anything here, so I'm just going to click cancel. But now Will Villegas is a part of my production, which he kind of signed up for since birth. Okay, the admin tab, it's right here. This is something exclusive to primary producers and those in the cast that have been given admin access. You'll be able to see your reports here, how tickets are being sold, the number of performances. I've agreed with my venue for 2. I've listed 3 production members. I've sold 0. Tickets haven't gone on sale yet, so it'll be like that for a second. Same with the ticket net revenue. I will also be able to explore performances. You're now able to see all the performances available to me that my venue and I have agreed upon. The 4 things here that we're seeing, view will give us a more in-depth breakdown of everything. Going back here. Oh, sorry, performances. Then edit allows me to edit some things, not everything. At a certain point, you have to talk to your venue. But for example, online shutoff, when tickets can be stopped to go on sale. We used to have it like 3 hours before a performance. We now just have it automatically shutting off 0 hours before the performance. If your show starts at 7, tickets end at 7. Of course, if you're like, oh, I need to squeeze someone in. Also, tickets at the door, we don't need to see them. We would like to know how many tickets were sold at the door for grant writing purposes when we're compiling the total number of audiences that saw shows. But yeah, we've just set the online shutoff to 0 so they can still buy it online if they'd like. But if they're at your door and you have a Venmo set up, you have a Zelle, you have cash, whatever you want to do, strong handshake, totally fine. Now, when it goes to price, this is specific to this performance. So previously we were saying, okay, my general ticket will cost $18. And so it applied it across the board. But now let's say you want to adjust that for specifically my August 1st, 2026, 12 a.m. performance. I now go here and I'm saying my regular price is actually going to be, I said 18, but for this specific performance, it's going to be 20. And you know what? In fact, I'll make like that'll be the regular price, but I will specifically for this performance make it pay what you can. And I will specifically for the following performance not select that toggle. So that way one of my performances is pay what you can while the other is not. Also something to note is you can also change the participant price. When you have a button, it knocks down, I believe, $1 off of a regular price. Or you can change that to whatever you want. So if my regular price was $20 and I didn't affect anything else, the participant price would be reflected as 19. Or I can change that and say, actually, if you're a participant as a part of the festival and most likely my fellow artist, I'm going to change it and actually say it's $10. Or I can also separately toggle it to say pay what you can, meaning let's say my regular price tickets for general audiences is $20 and not pay what you can. My participant price for this specific performance can be pay what you can. And again, the website will identify fellow participants internally, which thank God, because that's a lot of work. Okay, additional info. This is super helpful on if you're offering ASL interpreted performances. Again, understandably so, the cost of hiring an ASL interpreter is very expensive. And so it's not likely that you'll have it for every single run if that is something you're wanting to do. But you can maybe having a funding, sorry, to book an ASL interpreter for this performance. And that's super helpful for when audiences want to know that that's an option available to them. Again, these are other things to be known. Flashing lights, maybe that is a part of my experience. All of these toggles were talked about at the accessibility workshop we had, but just to go briefly through it, audio descriptions, some venues have audio listening devices as well. This is also about like, if you are thinking more in the space of radio play and you're describing things as they're happening or staged reading as they're happening. Captioning available kind of comes in the territory of projections and seeing that, and that's something you've worked on, it's something you want for your show. Offering tactile preview tours. Yes, you typically only have 15 minutes to enter and exit your show, but you might not use all that time to load in your audience. You're maybe setting up. And if someone's request, you can offer that service for them to come and feel around the set and maybe the costumes. This is also super important, primarily visual performance. This I think we can think about extending to like maybe clowning that maybe says 1 or 2 words or movement heavy pieces of work. I wouldn't, and this is sometimes confusing, but I know sometimes like take for example a noise is off or a rumors kind of production that's a farce and there's a lot of closing doors and a lot of physical comedy, but we also have to realize that there's so much dialogue being thrown that's in quick rapid succession. I don't think that this would really fit that as a primarily visual performance when it's so dialogue heavy. Primarily sound performances do occur at the festival. They're not as abundant. I think we're seeing an uptick, but like one comes to mind where they had a full audience putting on headphones, like silent disco style, and it was a completely auditory experience seated in a theater. Or it was primarily. It was a big part of it. Yes, so sensory advisory, smoke, and haze is the other one I want to talk about. You really should check in with your venue if smoke and haze is allowed. Um, at the end of the day, all these venues are their own businesses and operate year round, which means they also have rules in place and how they work around and work with artists when trying to accomplish things. But also, smoke and haze, depending on what you're using and depending to how much, may also require that the fire department needs to get involved and know about it. I've just been in a lot of theaters, Fringe and beyond, that the fire department gets called by accident because the system went off and they didn't notify the department. And it's never a fun time. Anyway, we're gonna update the performance. So great. This will also show you how many seats in the venue. For Hollywood Reservoir, for right now, it just says 999. Your venue will say whatever number the venue has, whether it be 50, 60. I did realize there's actually one thing I need to go and look at. Number of seats on sale. This is important. Through the Fringe participation, you are required to sell up to 50, you're required to sell 50% of your tickets through the website. You do not have to sell the other 50% through the website. So for example, I guess if the maximum capacity is 999, half of that is technically what, like 499? I don't know. Math. Oh, it's not. I'm gonna say, oh no, maybe it is 499. I'm not gonna bother to do the math right now. But be aware of where you're selling your tickets on another platform and don't oversell your house by accident. It has happened before. I mean, what a great problem, honestly, to have, but a very, very stressful one where you're like, what do I do? And you'll be in a bit of a bind. I also recommend reserving a couple tickets every performance for like sudden industry press or judges, that if that's a part of your Fringe journey that you want. I can talk about that in a second as I'm done with this tab right here. Going to edit. So this is where, this should be a little bit more familiar. This is what we were talking about at the beginning, where we were filling all this out. This is where you're fully able to go back and edit all of this. That's what happens in the edit tab. Your feed is a live feed of one in May. It'll be ticket sales. You can see like, oh, who's buying a ticket and when. But for right now, it'll also show what venues you've applied to. And it says like, hey, X, Y, and Z venue got back to you and now there's a pending deal. It'll pop up here in case it also gets lost in your email. This is another place it populates. Discount codes, fun to play with. And really something that gets more, you get more access to this when your deal has been confirmed, because I'm now going to give, I'm going to say Fringe is my discount code. I'm going to say the price is $3 and I'm enabling it. I'm not going to make the project pay what you can or the discount code pay what you can. I will only select opening night to have this discount code work. You can select all of them by clicking select all, or you can say actually, so maybe I want to customize it even more. Not, it's like opening, and it's a special discount code only for opening, and then I'm going to say add discount code. In Lowe's experience and my experience, I've never seen anyone break this part of the website, and people have sometimes made like hundreds of discount codes. I'm not saying that as a challenge. I'm saying as that as the site is robust. I I'll look at this right now actually, because let's see. Is the percent of tickets sold requirement based on actual sales? Oh no, it's on possible. So like if there are 50 available seats, 25 should be sold on the site, 25 elsewhere. Yeah, no worries at all. Okay, going down to price levels. Not unlike discount codes, but just completely different thing. So let's say my level name is Friends. The ticket price for them is $5. How many tickets do I want to make available for this for each performance? I only want I I have one friend. One friend is going to be able to get this ticket at this level. And I can select for various performances or all of them. I'm going to add that price level. On the flip side, I was going to write enemies. I shouldn't do that. Best friends. That's another level. The ticket price for best friends is going to be $2. Tickets on sale. I have so many best friends. We're going to make Oh, but we're gonna make that 20 tickets on sale. However, I only want my best friends to come on my last performance. So that is a price level exclusive to the last one. I'm sorry if I'm getting a little loopy. We're at the home stretch. But because of that, if you have questions, like let's dive into it. I don't wanna get my giggliness I don't, it's okay. Anyway, guide proof. Okay, the guide proof. So if we go back to the edit section, that is the oh yeah, sometimes the website will look like this. Just feel free to refresh it. It's just the internal stuff revealing itself by accident. Or fine. We just keep playing with it. But anyway, the short description is we've written 30 characters. We can go edit it and say as much. I'm like, I'm changing this. Okay. Oh, and then always click update project. You want to save that. And now if I go back to my guide proof, this is more or less what it's going to look like when this blurb goes to print. As you can see here, I've listed the producing entity as Hollywood Fringe. The show title is always going to be at the top. It tells me the duration of the show. It tells me the range of tickets as I've created price levels. It shows that it's a world premiere and that some of the performances are free. There is a content warning, and I, for this project, have made it 5 and up. This is where my short description, the 300 characters, lives. Then it tells you the venue, and then it lists out all of the days in June. And because the performances, because we don't want to confuse anybody, we put it in August. But normally, these then will be highlighted in bold, and that's how it'll look in the guide. If you want to fix any of that, there are these quick links right here. For example, to edit the text associated with your project, it takes us back here. But when it's like to edit performance dates, times, and durations, that is where you have to contact your venue directly. Otherwise, it just is too chaotic for the whole system to handle. You are fully able to click and edit performance prices. And then, of course, further questions happen all the time. And that's why the support at hollywoodfringe.org email exists, where I'm on there, other staff members are on there, and the response rate right now is 72 hours. And then in May and June, especially with ticket holders, it's 24 and much faster than that, actually. The final thing is patrons. When people are buying tickets, there will always be an option for them to allow you access to their email. So if you've done a fringe show and you survived June and it's exciting, and now you're like, well, I want to keep creating work and I'm gonna do a show in April. Oh, I can go to this patrons tab, and these are all the people that have opted in to receive emails from me after the fact. So a lot of companies come into Fringe, whether they're established or emerging or just artists in general, and they're like, something that's really important to me is building my base of patrons, so I can email them. And this is something they opted into, and you get to keep that. Also, the website stores all of this. So let's say you did a fringe show 3 years ago. If you opened up your project page and your account, it'll all still be there. Of course, unless you ask us to delete it, in which case we do. But yeah, that is always super helpful. And I think sometimes our artists forget about that. And like, they should know there are people wanting to subscribe and, be a part of their artistic journey. Okay. I think I have gone through everything. And unlike Lois, she did it in an hour and I did it in an hour 30. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to I think Jeanette has been incredible in responding to just a lot of people in the chat, which like thank you, Jeanette, so much. And Jeanette, let me know if there's anyone in um the YouTube live chat, if they've been asking any questions, but also everyone here in the room. I know I just threw a lot at everybody, but I'm also happy to answer any questions. Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, go for it.
I feel kind of bad because I know you probably already talked about this before, but
It's okay.
my internet went out like right or I was whatever. Um, when it comes to content warnings,
Yeah.
I will be talking a little bit about the Vietnam War
Mm-hmm.
and how much like how do I gauge what I mean, we live in an age where everybody can see stuff that like, and it's not going to be, it's not going to be like gore, but it's
Yeah.
like what constitutes disturbing these days is very varied. So,
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about this more. I will also there's two things I'll resources I'll add, and then I'll answer it too. We just had our accessibility panel, which talked about all of the flags and the content warnings, and we kind of gave some examples of when they would apply. One of them is that's just in the top of my head is torture isn't one, but also like depiction of a weapon, and those are things to take into account. Like, well, if I'm talking about war and the title and the bio of my show is discussing this, then some things can be assumed, but you don't want to operate like that fully all the time, because again, you don't want to have an audience member completely disconnect from your work to preserve their own safety. Um, the other thing I'll say is that I even had an artist one-on-one or an email. Uh, I'm happy to discuss this over email and artist one-on-ones, especially when it comes to like specifics of certain shows. But even as you were talking, you were already self-identifying what your show is about because I was like, oh, I didn't know if your show would include gore. But if it's not, then you're not putting gore. But if there's a weapon or a firearm, then it's like you could say like I'm forgetting what the specific phrasing I was using, but like either use of a weapon or firearm is always super important. Also, just because we're on the subject of it and something that came up over the weekend, if you're using a gun, the gun cannot go off. We don't do blanks here at the festival. That's a festival-wide policy. Your venue will also have further policies, and oftentimes the venues need to clear any weapons, and that can go from a fake prop gun to a wooden toy sword. You have to communicate with your venue what you're doing in your space. It's just best practice. And then also from an equity standpoint, also best practices thing, never point a gun at an audience member. It is very triggering response, and it may or most definitely interrupt the flow of your performance if their reaction is so strong. I say that as someone who has seen performances where guns were misused and aimed at audience members, and we had to take a emergency intermission. It's usually accustomed to if you're an actor, you're also not aiming a gun at your fellow actor. You're either like, aiming the gun upstage, downstage, or you're aiming into the above the audience's heads or in the aisles. It's just things that are good practice. Um, yeah, I'm happy to continue this conversation, especially when it comes to the specifics of your specific show. Because as someone who creates work that also needs content warnings, in my non-fringe admin world, it is something that I'm very like wanting to always discuss and get second opinions from. So like I totally get it. I will also ask Jeanette if there's anything you wanted to add on this one, because I know we ran the accessibility panel together.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a great question. And yeah, also to anyone watching or watches this later, we're here to support you guys. We're not here to get you guys. So, everything's a little bit of a gray area. So if you do have questions, like email us. Brady, of course, has his one-on-ones. I mean, that's a great question. Of course, I would say too, sometimes it's like like bait, like what is the word I'm looking for? Like sort of like straight to the point. So I'm just gonna assume something. I have no idea what your show entails, but if it's about the Vietnam War, it could be like
Oh.
talks about Vietnam War, like depictions. It would be a historical video. Okay, like show like it doesn't have to be too detailed. If anything, that's too much work. If you're just like um shows a video depicting violence or something like that. You know what I mean? Just it could be something as simple as that. And again, please, if you want to continue having that conversation with Roddy or us, please feel free to do so. Um, but yeah, if that makes sense, it's just a little bit just more, you don't have to get into details, but you're like, this will happen. We are going to talk about there is gore, there is violence. Violence is a pretty broad word, but people can understand that, understandably so. But yeah, but yeah.
Also, like I do agree, like even the adding that like a historical video is contained, knowing the, your project will say the name of your show, there will be a bio that explains the show, stating that there's historical footage used, um, does help me as an audience member make a better judgment on what I can and won't be able to handle. It's so interesting because like I'm immediately thinking of shows that I've seen in LA that have done this and have noted that and haven't, and how they've been how audiences reacted is very vast. I think mentioning that there's a historical video is enough for that specific thing. It's not a blanket coverall, but on a case by case basis, I think that that was super helpful, provided that, your show description also kind of
Yeah.
details, not, not a verbatim, but like it's the pitch. It's the pitch of the show.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Of course, of course. Are there any other questions in Zoom land, in YouTube land? Okay, if any pop up, I'm gonna close this out here by just giving a couple of closing statements. We've talked about it. You're fully able to reserve a artist one-on-one as we're ramping into Fringe. Right now they're only offered on Tuesdays. We're gonna offer more because people will need more. That's really fine. You can also email support@hollywoodfringe.org. Again, staff is always on there. Please feel free to check out all those resources I mentioned at the top of this video. And oh, I mean, we're gonna be walking the Hollywood Reservoir on Sunday. And if you want to join, that'd be cool. It'd be me, it'd be another staff member, our wonderful Stina, who works with us as well. If you were at the Access panel, she was there as well. But I think that's it. Jeanette, I think if it's all right, we're good to end the live. And then yeah, so goodbye.